I run a luxury real estate empire, sit on 3 global boards, and fly first class to conferences where people treat me like I've got the answers to life. But one night, I found a female janitor asleep on a toilet seat, and somehow, that moment changed everything. If you're already gripped by this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this isn't just another success story, it's about something deeper. I was exhausted that night. It was 2:17 a.m. I had stayed late preparing for a merger that could make or break everything I'd built. I walked into the executive restroom on the 21st floor and froze. There, in one of the stalls, a pair of old sneakers stuck out. I nudged the door open and saw her, a woman, maybe late 20s, curled into herself, fast asleep, wearing a cleaning uniform, using her jacket as a pillow, on the toilet. Something about the scene tore right through me, and I had no idea why, yet. The office smelled of lemon disinfectant and fresh printer ink. Every corner gleamed, except for her. She looked worn out. Her name tag read, Maria. I didn't wake her. I just left quietly. But that image haunted me for days. When Monday came, I asked HR if our cleaning staff had a break room. They didn't. Just a supply closet with a stool. I had the team furnish a proper rest area that same week, but I couldn't stop thinking about her. Why was she sleeping here? Where did she go after work? Who was she? I started noticing her during late nights, always quiet, always working, like it mattered, like polishing the floors could save someone's life. One evening, I left a thank you note beside the janitor cart. The next night, it was gone, replaced with a sticky note. Gracias, nobody sees us, you did. I started writing back. Little notes, then snacks, then a scarf, when I noticed she came in soaked from the rain, but I still didn't know her story. Until one stormy Thursday, I asked her if she'd like a cup of coffee. She looked stunned, almost afraid, but then she nodded. We sat in the lobby, lights flickering from the weather outside. She spoke softly. Her English was broken, but her story wasn't. She was undocumented, had been cleaning offices since she was 16. Her son was in a hospital in Mexico. She sent every dollar she made to him. She hadn't taken a day off in 4 years. And that night, I found her asleep. She had just gotten off a 14-hour shift at another job. I was speechless, not out of pity, out of awe. She had the kind of grit no resume could show, the kind of love that bent logic. That night changed me. I didn't want to just help her. I wanted to know her, so I did what I never thought I'd do. I stepped away from work. For a while, I followed her pace. We took walks in the early mornings. She taught me how to cook tamales. I taught her how to use a MacBook. I funded her son's surgery, but I didn't tell anyone. She found out. She cried. I cried. We sat on the floor of my penthouse, laughing, breaking, healing. Months passed. I fell in love. Not with her job, not with her looks, with her. Her resilience, her spirit, her way of making hard things soft again. She was offered a permanent staff role, with benefits. She declined. She wanted to go back to school, so she did. I watched her walk across that graduation stage in a cap she bought secondhand, wearing a new smile. The auditorium was packed with cheering families, balloons, bouquets, flashbulbs. But for me, everything went quiet the moment I saw her take that final step. Maria wasn't just receiving a diploma, she was crossing a line the world never thought she'd reach. And when she looked at me in the crowd, eyes shimmering, I didn't see the woman asleep in a bathroom stall. I saw the future. After the ceremony, she didn't rush toward me. She walked slowly, calmly, confident now. She held her degree in one hand and a tiny bouquet of white daisies in the other. "From my son," she said. Tears hit me before I could stop them. We didn't rush, into anything after that. We traveled, nothing extravagant. A bus ride through Arizona, a quiet Airbnb in Oaxaca. We talked about life, about values. She told me how, when she was 12, she used to clean classrooms before school. Not because she had to, because she didn't want the teachers to look down on her for the dust. She still did that. Even in our home, I'd catch her scrubbing corners no one could see. And every time I offered to help, she'd say, "Clean house, clean heart," then hand me a sponge. I introduced her to my board once. They didn't know who she was, just that she was with me. Some smiled politely, others barely looked up. Later that night, I asked if she was okay. She shrugged. "I don't need their eyes. I've got yours." That line stayed with me, because for all the money I'd made, the rooms I'd commanded, none of it taught me how to stay grounded. She did. 6 months later, she got a job offer, teaching ESL at a community center. She was nervous. "I don't even have perfect English," she said. "But you have perfect empathy," I replied. She accepted. I'd come by sometimes, sit in the back, like a student, watching her draw verbs on whiteboards, act out scenes to help people understand. One day, a middle-aged man came up to her after class, sobbing. "You taught me how to say 'I'm sorry' to my daughter," he said. She hugged me, for the first time in 4 years. Maria smiled, didn't brag, didn't tweet it, just whispered. That's the power of one word. But not everything was perfect. Some people whispered, "Why her? What does she really want?" Once, a magazine ran a piece. Billionaire CEO dating janitor turned teacher, charity or romance. She never read it. I made sure. But the sting? I felt it. We had dinner one night at her favorite taco truck. She noticed something was off. "You're not eating," she said. "I'm just angry," I muttered. At people, at how they judge. She reached across the plastic table and took my hand. "I used to be ashamed of my story," she said. "But now I know it's not dirt, it's soil. And from soil, things grow." One night, I came home to find her on the balcony, staring at the stars. She turned to me. "Can I ask you something wild?" I nodded. "What if we turned your big building into something else at night?" "Like what?" "A school, a shelter, something for the cleaners, the nannies, the cooks who don't get thanked." I paused. "You mean use the office?" She nodded, eyes wide. "Just one floor, one night a week. I'll teach. Others will come." I laughed, not to dismiss her, but because of course she'd think of that. We made a few calls, bypassed some red tape. 3 weeks later, Friday Night Lights was born. Every Friday, after closing, we opened the 20th floor of my HQ. People came. A woman from Haiti learned how to use Zoom to talk to her grandkids. A former bus driver practiced reading bedtime stories so he could call his son. One man cried because it was the first time anyone called him sir. And Maria, she shined. She started recording lessons, sharing them online. Her accent became her signature. Her warmth became viral. News picked it up, not as gossip, but as hope. From toilet stall to teacher, the woman changing corporate skyscrapers at night, that was the headline. One evening, as we locked up the floor, I asked, "Do you still feel like you don't belong?" She leaned into me. "I don't need to belong to them," she said. "I built something, and so did you." Then softly, she added, "I think I'm ready." Ready for what? To be a wife. We got married in the community center she taught at. No tuxedos, no gala, just her in a white linen dress, standing beneath string lights and paper flowers. Her son walked her down the aisle, and when we said our vows, mine written on a napkin, hers memorized from the heart. There wasn't a single dry eye in the room. Even the taco truck guy we loved cried. People ask me now, why her? And I always say, she didn't climb up to my level. She brought me back down to where life actually happens, where honesty lives, where love isn't branded, where dignity isn't tied to a paycheck. 1 year later, Maria was asked to speak at the United Nations on education for the underserved. She hesitated. I clean, remember? You taught, I replied. You lead now. She stood on that stage, microphone shaking in her hand, but her voice didn't falter once. I slept in supply closets. I taught myself English in laundromats. But tonight, I'm here because someone saw me, and because I learned to see myself. The room rose to its feet, and I just smiled. I didn't need applause. I had her. Sometimes the greatest love doesn't begin with fireworks, but with a quiet moment, and a woman asleep on a toilet, dreaming of something better. That night, after Maria's UN speech, we walked along the Hudson in silence. She took off her heels, held them in one hand, and let the wind hit her face. I used to dream about this, she whispered. Not the lights, not the cameras, just being heard, being seen. I looked at her. And now that you are, she smiled without looking at me. Now I want to make sure the others are, too. The next morning, she woke up early, earlier than I ever had. While I scrolled through messages from investors, she was already outlining a new curriculum. Not for the elite, not for corporations, for domestic workers, delivery drivers, mothers who never got a second chance. She called it Rise Rooms. We started with just one, an old rec center we rented downtown, no Wi-Fi, paint peeling off the walls, a rusty kettle in the back. She didn't care. I don't need polish, she said. I need people. And people came. One Saturday, a woman showed up with a toddler on her hip and fear in her eyes. She didn't speak any English. She couldn't write. She didn't even know what the class was about. But Maria smiled, pulled out a picture book, sat on the floor with her, cross-legged, just like that. No ego, no rush, no shame. They traced letters together with their fingers like they were painting a future. But then the city pushed back. Someone complained about the zoning. Another sent an anonymous report that the space wasn't certified. A week later, we got the order. Shut it down. I was ready to fight, hire lawyers, leverage contacts, break things if I had to. But Maria stopped me. She sat me down, placed her hand over mine, and said, "We don't scream louder, we build better." So we moved it online. She started recording from our kitchen table, a chalkboard behind her, a string of fairy lights, her voice warm and steady. Each video was for someone specific. One for a grandmother trying to Skype her grandkids, one for a teenager in Ghana practicing customer service English, one for a hotel cleaner learning to report incidents. Soon, Rise Rooms wasn't a place anymore. It was a movement. And Maria, she wasn't just a teacher. She was hope with a Wi-Fi signal. One night, while reviewing comments, she froze. I looked over. The message read, "Because of you, I got a job. Now I clean the office with pride, not shame. You changed my life." It was signed, "A woman like you." Maria turned to me, tears falling quietly. "I never thought I'd be the reason someone stands taller." "You are," I said. "You always were." But then the past came knocking. One Monday morning, she got a call from Mexico. Her father, whom she hadn't spoken to in 10 years, was sick, badly sick. "He's the reason I left," she told me. "He didn't believe in me. Said I'd be nothing. Said I should just find a man to survive." I asked her what she wanted to do. I don't know, she whispered. I forgave him a long time ago, but I don't know if I can go back. That night, we didn't sleep. She stared at her passport like it was a mirror. I held her hand, not to lead, just to anchor. 2 days later, she flew out, alone. She said, "This journey is mine. I need to close this circle." I waited. Days turned to weeks. We FaceTimed once. Bad connection, low battery. She looked tired, but calm. "He cried when he saw me," she said. "Couldn't even lift his head." Then she paused. But he said, "I was wrong. You didn't survive. You soared." When she returned, something had shifted. She walked lighter, smiled deeper. "Closure," she said. "It's not about them being sorry. It's about you not needing them to be." We celebrated our 5th anniversary quietly. No press, no guests. Just us and her son, Mateo. Now a young man studying computer science. Maria handed me a gift, a framed photo of her old janitor badge. I laughed. "You kept this?" She nodded. That version of me deserved to make it to this table. And then she whispered something I'll never forget. The girl who scrubbed toilets taught the world how to speak. So when people ask me now, what's the most valuable asset you've ever acquired? I don't say our patents, or our mergers, or the funding rounds I crushed. I say her, Maria, the woman who turned broken nights into bright mornings, who turned shame into service, and who, somehow, taught a billionaire how to truly love. We didn't know it yet, but that year was the calm before a storm. Maria was nominated for a Global Change Leader Award, a recognition usually reserved for heads of state, economists, activists. She didn't want to go, said she wasn't polished enough, said her story was too ordinary. I looked her in the eyes and said, "Then that's exactly why you need to go." So we went to Geneva. The ballroom was everything we weren't. Crystal chandeliers, tall champagne flutes, guests with medals on their jackets, and names I used to study in business school. But Maria walked in with that same quiet power. No designer gown, just a hand-sewn white dress from her home village, and a pin Mateo made her when he was 7. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She was there to represent someone. When they called her name, she looked at me, terrified. "I don't have a speech." "You don't need one," I said. "Just tell the truth." She walked up. The lights hit her. The room went silent. Then she said, "I used to scrub floors no one walked on. I used to sleep where no one saw me, but I was never invisible. I was just waiting for someone to care enough to look." You could have heard a pin drop. Even the ambassador next to me wiped a tear. She finished with, "There are millions of Marias out there. I'm not the hero. I'm just the voice." And the room, full of leaders and billionaires, rose to their feet. The next morning, our inboxes exploded. NGOs wanted to partner. Universities wanted to fund rise rooms. Documentary crews offered contracts. A major publisher emailed, "We'd like her story. Name your price." I was thrilled. Maria was hesitant. "I don't want my pain turned into someone's clickbait," she said. So we talked and decided on our terms. She would write the book, in her words, at her pace. It took a year. Every night she wrote in the kitchen, sipping cinnamon tea. Some pages she tore up. Some chapters made her cry. But when it was done, she handed me the manuscript and said, "This isn't about me. It's for the ones still in the shadows." The book launched on a quiet Tuesday. No billboard campaigns. Just a single post. "To the invisible ones, you're not alone anymore. Maria." Within a week, it hit #1 in 5 countries. Readers from Thailand, Nigeria, Chile, and Detroit messaged her, "You put my life into words." I finally showed my story to my daughter. I teach with more kindness now. And one that hit me hardest: I stopped hiding my mom's job. I'm proud of her now. We were invited to speak together at a global innovation summit. I gave a polished keynote: charts, projections, impact metrics. Maria stepped up after me, held up her janitor badge, and said, "Innovation isn't just technology. It's noticing the people you pass in the hallway. It's saying thank you. It's listening." They didn't clap. They cheered. Back home, life stayed simple. Mateo graduated and started coding for a startup that hired from low-income communities. Maria planted a small rooftop garden for peace, she said. But then came a call that would test everything. The government wanted to license Rise rooms nationwide. They'd fund it, scale it, build campuses with her name on them. The catch? She'd lose control. They wanted full rights. I told her the deal was generous. She nodded. Then she turned it down. "I didn't build Rise rooms to become a monument," she said. "I built it to stay human." So instead, she franchised it. Not to governments, to people, former students, volunteers, community leaders. She created a toolkit, a starter model, translated it into 19 languages. Rise rooms popped up in basements in Peru, church halls in Kenya, backyards in Alabama, all under one rule: keep the heart in it. Now, 10 years later, Maria doesn't run Rise rooms anymore. She guides it, listens to stories, offers advice, still teaches one class a week online for women over 50 who want to learn English. She still keeps her badge, still walks with humility, but now when she enters a room, people stand. And every time she hears someone call her maestra, she tears up, because for her, the word means more than teacher. It means, you saw me, you believed in me, you let me become. So when I look at the arc of my life, my IPOs, my accolades, my net worth, none of it compares, not even close, to the moment I walked into that restroom and found a woman curled on a toilet seat, sleeping, dreaming, and somehow awakening the world. Because the greatest stories aren't made in boardrooms. They're born in quiet places, by people who never stop believing in better. A few weeks after our anniversary, Maria got a letter. Not an email, not a DM, an actual handwritten letter delivered to our building's front desk. She opened it slowly, her fingers trembling a bit. It was from a girl in Chicago, 13 years old, living in a shelter with her mom. "Miss Maria," it read, "my teacher showed us your video. You said you used to clean floors. My mom cleans floors too. She cries when she thinks I'm not watching. But I told her you made it, so she can too. I want to be like you. I want to help her smile again. Love, Zoe." Maria didn't say anything for a long time after reading it. Then she looked at me and said quietly, "We have to find them." We reached out through the shelter's staff. No cameras, no press, just us. They were hesitant at first, understandably, but when they finally agreed to meet, it was nothing like I'd ever seen. Zoe wore oversized clothes and scuffed sneakers, but she had fire in her eyes. Her mother, Camille, had tired hands, tired eyes, but a spine that didn't bend. Maria didn't give them a check, didn't offer a miracle escape. She did what she always does. She listened. Over the next few weeks, Camille and Zoe started attending Maria's weekend sessions at a local Rise Room branch. Camille learned how to apply for safer jobs. Zoe, she started designing her own flashcards to help other kids read. One day after class, Maria turned to me and whispered, "She reminds me of Mateo when he was small. All spark, all promise, just needs a little wind." That night, we invited them to dinner. They came, and before dessert, Zoe asked Maria something that cracked my chest wide open. Do you think someone like me could ever run Rise Rooms one day? Maria leaned down, smiled, and said, Zoe, I don't just think you could run it. I think one day I'll be working for you. A year later, Camille got a job as a school custodian. Safer hours, full benefits. Zoe got a scholarship to a specialized literacy program. And one Friday evening, Maria asked Zoe to co-teach a session. They stood at the front of the room together, Maria in her white linen blouse, Zoe in a borrowed blazer 2 sizes too big, and they taught side by side. Zoe led an icebreaker game. Maria handed her the dry erase marker, let her take the lead, and the look on that girl's face, that's when I realized Maria hadn't just changed lives, she'd started a chain reaction. One afternoon, during a quiet walk in the park, Maria turned to me and said, I think I'm ready to step back. I stopped walking. What do you mean? She smiled. Not away, just back. I want others to rise. Literally. Rise Rooms shouldn't be about my story anymore. It should be theirs. That week, she quietly appointed a new international board. Former students, immigrants, custodians, street vendors, people who knew the mission because they were the mission. She still speaks occasionally, still teaches, still mentors. But her focus now? Legacy. She started a foundation, not in her name, but in honor of her mother, who passed when Maria was young. The Elena Foundation. It provides microgrants to overlooked women trying to rebuild. No applications, no essays, just a call and a story. If Maria hears the truth in your voice, you get a chance. One December evening, she got a call from Mateo. He was in Nairobi. One of Rise Room's tech partners had flown him in for a conference. He said, Mom, I just taught my first class. Maria didn't speak for a full minute. Then I watched her cry, quietly, into her hands. Not from sadness, from completion. She had built something that would outlive her. Not a company, not a brand, but a heartbeat. She once told me, success isn't climbing higher, it's lifting while staying grounded. And now, she gardens. She writes poetry. She volunteers anonymously, no one knowing who she is. Sometimes, I'll find her sitting on the rooftop at sunset. No phone, no distractions, just looking out at the city she once cleaned, now full of voices she helped awaken. And me, I still run my company, still speak at summits, but I measure my wealth differently now, not in earnings, in impact, in every Zoe, every Camille, every Maria the world never saw coming. And here's what I learned. You don't need a cape to be powerful. You don't need a title to be a leader. Sometimes, all you need is the courage to stay soft in a hard world. What about you? What would you do if someone gave you the chance Maria never got? Have you met your Maria yet? Or maybe are you becoming one? Tell us in the comments below. And if this story reached you, if it stayed in your chest after the screen went dark, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because stories like this aren't just content, they're proof that humanity is still the most powerful thing we can build.